recording.
Lisa. And we are live on Facebook. Good evening, Europe, and good afternoon, Canada. Welcome everyone to the final of the Thinkathon Online Challenge. Bonsoir à nos amis européens et bonjour à nos amis canadiens. Bienvenue à la finale du Thinkathon Online Challenge. So my name is Julia and I will get you through the next 2 hours. And I must say I'm really excited and happy to be here with you today. Back in October, when we launched the Thinkathon Online Challenge as part of the project Our Digital Future CTC, over 250 teams took part in the competition from Europe and Canada. They all submitted their policy recommendations on various topics such as health, education, gender equality, anti-racism, and climate change. But only 5 of them made it to the final. And today we will have the chance to hear from them. We will be also joined by a jury of experts and policymakers from Europe and Canada, as well as a panel of various speakers. But before we enter the competition, I would like to give the word to Katia Melzer, who is the director of the Goethe-Institut Montreal, to tell you a bit more about the project. Katia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Yuya, for this nice introduction. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining and thank you for participating. My name is Katia Melzer. I'm the director of the Goethe-Institut here in Montreal. I'm very pleased to welcome everyone to the finals of the Thinkathon Challenge, which is part, as Yuya mentioned, of a project called Our Digital Future CEC. This project is a 2-year initiative, which basically aims to connect young people from Canada and Europe to develop ideas, to connect first of all, but also to develop ideas and proposals around digital inclusion. So there have been a couple of different types of events, online, offline, and there have been so far great proposals been developed. And then most importantly, those proposals are being communicated to policymakers. This is also something that happens on an ongoing basis. And also, for example, today, I'm very happy to have so many, that we have so many policymakers from both sides of the Atlantic present as speakers, as jurors, and also in the audience. So thank you everyone for joining. The overall project is organized by 3 partner organizations. Think Young, Yuya is one representative, Carrefour Jeunesse Emploi, NDG here in Montreal, and the Goethe-Institut. And the project is funded by the European Union. I would also like to use this occasion to thank our other partners. It's a long list of organizations that we worked with to connect, to reach out to young people, but also organizations that do advocacy work around the topics of digitalization and/or digital inclusion. So thank you, everyone. And I would like to also thank Agorize, who is our main sponsor, for their continuous commitment to the project. As Yuya said, there have been many proposals, and I'm of course super excited to see the 5 finalists and hear you introducing your projects. But I would also strongly like to encourage everyone who participated and who already, came up with the first idea, but maybe didn't make it to the finals, to stay engaged with the topic. There has been, throughout this project, we experienced that there is a huge interest from the policymaker side to hear what young people are concerned with, where do they set priorities in terms of digital inclusion, what ideas do they have to make our societies and digital transformation processes more inclusive. So please stay engaged, connect with your local youth councils, local politicians, make yourself heard. But now I give back to Yuya, and again, I'm very excited to see the proposals.
Thank you, Katja, for this introduction. And indeed, I think it's amazing to see so many young people from Europe and Canada coming together to brainstorm and suggest some ideas, especially in these difficult times. Actually, do not hesitate to write in the chat for the people who are with us on Zoom or even on the Facebook comments to let us know where you are watching us from. I think we will see many different countries coming together, so that's really great. To continue with this welcoming session, I would like to give the floor to MEP Stéphanie Yoncotin, who is the chair delegation for relations with Canada, to address some opening words to the participants. So MEP Yoncotin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Julia. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Well, hello, everybody. And first, let me thank you for the invitation to address your very interesting event. And I'm very happy to see that even in these complex COVID times, young people from Canada and from Europe come together to talk about issues that bind them. So there's no frontier, which is amazing. COVID probably has changed your lives considerably. Homeschooling or teleworking with little opportunity for social contact, the economy suffering and public debt piling up. It will be quite a different world we are going to leave you with, and this will be reshaping your understanding of the world. It will ask quite some resourcefulness from you. We all have the task to learn the lessons from the COVID times to build back better. Canada and Europe very much think alike. In October 2020, during the last EU-Canada summit, Prime Minister Trudeau and Commission President von der Leyen promoted recovery plans incorporating green transition and digital transformation while leaving nobody behind. We both understand that we can't go back the time before. We need to focus on sustainable, fair, and digital future. Over the past years, the relations between Canada and Europe have become better than ever before. Canada and the EU are strategic partners in the 2017 Strategic Partnership Agreement. Policy dialogues on 20 policy fields allow the exchange of best practices and joint European-Canada policy development. As chair of the European Parliament Delegation for Relations with Canada, I am happy to say that we have learned the digital lessons from the COVID pandemic. Instead of just meeting once a year with our Canadian counterparts, we have met 7 times in 2020 with the use of video calls. However, I must say that I'm looking forward to meeting my Canadian colleagues in Ottawa as soon as we are allowed, because this was due to be the case last November. I am a member of European Parliament, but before all, I am a native and local representative of Normandy, which has a strong and old ties with Canada. After the World War II and the D-Day, Canadians will always be remembered in Normandy. You will be always welcome. And I do cherish the special relationship that we have. I personally recommend you the Juno Beach Museum as well as the Memorial of Caen. If you have the occasion to pass by Normandy, please be welcome. You will be my guest once we will be allowed to do that. I'll be so happy to welcome you here in Normandy. Based on our shared principles and values, such as democracy, equality, rule of law, respect for human rights, inclusiveness, and the promotion of multilateral cooperation, we have intensified our cooperation to jointly promote global challenge for the better. Let me give you 4 examples. We jointly promote gender equality. Canada and the EU jointly organize a meeting of female foreign ministers in the United Nations. Second, we also jointly support international initiatives to ensure universal, equitable, and affordable access to COVID-19 vaccines. Third, we jointly work to protect democracy and fight misinformation. None of us can claim to be safe to the threats to our democracy. We need to regulate and end the monopoly power of social media and instead enable competition and freedom of speech. And last but not least, the election of Joe Biden as US president allow us to work together on many issues as an European, Canada, and US trio. Joint approaches are needed to face the challenges of our times. The heart of the European-Canada relations are the people-to-people contact between Canadians and Europeans. The CETA agreement is offering opportunities to you, and to less young people. Trade and investment flows have grown considerably since CETA, giving great opportunities and jobs to people on both sides. The CETA agreement does not just focus on trade and investment, it also promotes the fight against climate change, the promotion of gender equality and the facilitation of SMEs in the bilateral trade. Researchers from Canada and Europe come together in the context of the Horizon 2020 cooperation programs. Students from Canada can benefit from European Erasmus Plus exchange programs, whereas our long-standing partner, the UK, has decided to leave the Erasmus project, full of opportunities for young people. And the Secretariat of the European Parliament Delegation for Relations of Canada welcomes a Quebec intern for 6 months per year, thanks to an initiative of Quebec province. This allows for intensive exchanges beneficial to all sides. Do not hesitate to apply should you be interested when things get back to normal. I believe this modern partnership is key addressing the challenges of our time, building back better together. We will offer the opportunities for you, for young people like you to grasp. So thank you very much. And I do look forward to hearing more about your projects. Congratulations on all finalists. And do remember, the only frontier we have is the one we put in our mind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, MEP Yankovtin. I think it was a very inspiring way to start this competition, and I guess now we all want to go and visit this beautiful region of Normandy. Thanks to you. So thank you for these words. Before we start the presentation and the pitch of the teams, because I know that you are all waiting for it, I just wanted to share with you some important rules for the competition. So I will share my screen. Please let me know if you see it. Okay, perfect. So we have some rules for all the teams. You will have 5 minutes to pitch and 5 minutes for questions and answers from the jury. So we have Kate at the background, who is our amazing timekeeper. And if you hear a ring, it means that you are talking too much, so you have to stop. And I'm sure she will do an amazing job in making sure that we keep on track for the timing. You will have some evaluation criteria from the juror. So you can see them on the screen: innovation, relevancy, feasibility, impact, and clarity. So this is something that the jury will take into consideration when hearing your pitch. Then a few words about the prize. So we have 4 types of prize: the first prize, second prize, third prize. You have the details in the slide. But we also have an audience prize. And then I would like to address the people who are watching us on Facebook Live. You can actually vote for your favorite team. So you will find this link that you either see in the screen or in the comments. You just have to click to log in, and then you can vote for your favorite project. So it's up to you, and the vote is already open. So feel free to support the team and go ahead with the voting. And now I think it's time to welcome our amazing jury. So hello everyone, hello dear jurors, and thank you for being with us. You will have 45 seconds, not one more, to introduce yourself. And I will call your name. So we will start with Sagar, who is, I think, a former participant of the Thinkathon. Sagar, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Awesome. Thank you, Julia. And so my name is Sagar. I'm originally from Calgary, Canada. As all of you today, I was actually previously a finalist for this back in June 2020. And I actually also attended an in-person one in Edmonton back when in-person Thinkathons were a thing. So I'm an alumnus of the University of Calgary and currently studying a Master's of Science in Health Policy, Planning and Financing at the Lund School of Economics and Lund School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. And I can't wait to hear your projects, and hopefully I'm really looking forward to great work that comes out of this.
Thank you, Sagar. Now we have MEP Stéphanie Yancotin, who is also a juror. So if you want to briefly introduce yourself again or add something that you didn't share with us yet.
I don't want to take too much time. As you know, Stéphanie Yancotin, member of the European Parliament and chair of the European Parliament Delegation for Relations with Canada. I'm also a local elected person in Normandy, which you know has close links to Canada following the World War II. And I'm the former mayor of Saint-Comté, a small town in Normandy near Caen. I'm also a lawyer at the bar exam, the Paris bar exam.
Thank you very much. And now we continue with Alessandro Darold.
Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. My name is Alessandro. I'm the managing director of EU40, which is the network of young members inside of the European Parliament under the age of 40. I am truly excited to be here with you today and see where your inspiration has taken you and your ideas, how they can fly high. I would like just to remind you how important it is to include young people in all of our discourses. 1 out of 3 European citizens is under 30 years of age. And this, if we look worldwide, becomes 50%. 50% of the population is 30 years old or younger. So this is why it is truly important to have your ideas and your comments today. And I'm super excited and ready to hear all from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandro, and happy to have you on board. We continue with Stephanie Day.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stephanie Day. I'm so excited to be here. I am a special advisor on women's entrepreneurship with Ryerson University's Diversity Institute. I'm joining today from Ottawa, Canada, a feminist at heart, a mother of 4, very excited to hear about the projects and also encouraging everyone to always think about adding a gender lens on the work that we do to make sure that gender equality is central to us making progress on all fronts. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. And last but not least, Roberto Esteban Alvarez.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to be here with you and to listen to your projects, which had a glimpse and they're very inspiring. So looking forward to hearing more about them. My name is Roberto Alvarez. I am based out of Toronto, leading an initiative called 6 Degrees, the Global Forum for Inclusion. We believe that inclusion, there has to be intentionality behind inclusion, and when done right, things can be much better and more prosperous. We have forums across Canada and within Canada and work in Europe as well. So I'm very excited to see all the ideas that you're having today.
Thank you, Roberto, and thank you all. And I guess now it's time for the big moment where the 5 team will present their policy recommendations and their projects. So each juror will call one of the team to give them the floor. And following the order, we will start with Alessandro. So it is your turn to call the first team.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very happy to call BIPOC Capital to present. So good luck.
Okay, can you all see the screen?
Yes, all working.
Okay. 60 years after the public denouncement of racial discrimination in financial loaning, Black, Indigenous, and people of color still continue to face modern-day redlining in their entrepreneurial efforts. We are not architects, but together we want to design the blueprint for economic racial justice by microfinancing the future. My name is Nabiha, and today I am joined by my colleagues Tasneem, Toby, and Raisa. Together we are BIPOC Capital.
Hi, I'm Tasneem. Our presentation synthesizes digital inclusivity and microfinancing to strengthen BIPOC small and medium enterprises. BIPOC communities are a large percent of the working class, yet there's a lack of established BIPOC SME investments. The growing gap of not owning capital through SMEs reinforces intergenerational wealth disparity, and lack of wealth makes it difficult for BIPOC to pursue their potential business plans. Without thriving SMEs, these communities are often restricted in drawing value from outside regions. Also, a lack of funding means that digital advancements are often inaccessible, forcing a reliance on ineffective technologies and resources. For example, in a convenience store, processes such as collecting customer data can all be automated through electronic points of sale systems. However, without digital inclusivity, these benefits are inaccessible to BIPOC SMEs. From the Canadian census, while BIPOC make up more than 1/5 of the Canadian population, they own just 13.6% of SMEs. And a Brookfield Institute report states Canada lacks data on BIPOC digital literacy rates, but it's expected to be low following USA's patterns of inaccessibility and exposure. Resolving this discrepancy is difficult without the proper data, and this highlights the importance of recognizing BIPOC communities in the discussion of digitality. Programs and policies implemented throughout Canada contributing towards socioeconomic equities for BIPOC includes the top 2 federal COVID relief funds and NGO funds such as the bottom 3. Ultimately, the Canadian federal government does not have a long-term solution to the socioeconomic barriers faced by BIPOC SMEs.
Returning value to BIPOC communities is the only way to reverse the historic disruption that has prevented SMEs from flourishing. It is also vital to afford BIPOC full autonomy in where and how funds are allocated. This is why we recommend the Canadian federal government to allocate an interest-free loan program for BIPOC SMEs that will enhance equity by ensuring these businesses are recognized, supported, and sustained. To create equal opportunity for BIPOC communities, we urge our policy to be implemented through a microfinancing program, which is the Digital BIPOC Entrepreneurship Program. This program distributes interest-free loans on an applicant basis while providing business mentorship. It addresses the lack of accessible funding for BIPOC SMEs while ensuring their economic growth with this mentorship. There's also an option for corporations to microfinance businesses of their choice in return for an online workshop hosted by their sponsored local business as a source of knowledge transfer, creating an economic win on both ends. Successful implementation of this program includes 3 major stakeholders, which are the government, corporations/banks, and BIPOC businesses. The best thing about this program, though, is that it is all digitally accessible. We push digital inclusivity by making sure the application process, fund allocation, knowledge transfer workshops, and mentorship are all accessible within our online space. Our app and website will utilize assistive technologies for those who are hearing or visually impaired, ensuring inclusivity to all members of the BIPOC community. Some of the long-lasting effects of this policy and program are an increase in job opportunities, strengthening of the local economies, reduction in environmental impact, preservation of BIPOC culture, and increased support for non-for-profits, and it significantly reduces the racial wealth gap.
Our project contributes towards 5 UN SDGs. We're reducing poverty, inequality, and ensuring decent work and economic growth by combining digital inclusivity with investments to cultivate BIPOC communities and deconstruct systemic barriers to their success. With this, we encourage responsible consumption and climate action as we raise local economies, encouraging people to shop locally, lowering their climate contributions. From everyone at BIPOC Capital, thank you, Thinkathon, for this opportunity. We ask for the jury's votes as we strongly believe that reducing racial wealth gap is essential to a more fair and equitable society. Our program utilizes microfinancing to embed digital literacy into BIPOC SMEs. As with the evolution of these communities, we will produce a more productive and vibrant society that benefits all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. And now we will have MEP Stephanie Young-Courtin, who will call the second team to present.
Thank you. I have the pleasure to introduce Neo College. And the presenters are Katarina and Marine. We will now listen to the project of this very interesting Neo College.
Hi. Okay, so I will share my screen. Okay, can you all see my screen correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Excuse me, Marin, but I think we have a bit of a delay because we have to do the Q&A with BIPOC Capital first. So if you can just keep on hold and we go back to BIPOC Capital for a Q&A with the juror.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking also.
Back to you for the questions to BIPOC Capital. And I'm asking the jury now if you have any questions for the team. You have 5 minutes to ask them any precisions or anything you would like to know about the project itself. So please go ahead.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi. Well, congratulations on your initiative. So timely, really. I have one question in terms of your idea of who would qualify for this microloans. In other words, what would be the specific requirements? Would you self-disclose as BIPOC, and that would sort of make you eligible for the financing? And the second question is, would you have to be at a certain level of development within your SME to be able to acquire it, or you can have some sort of business plan and present it in order to qualify for this loans? What would be your general idea?
Thank you for asking an awesome question. I was going to say that in the application process, which is obviously another process in itself for formation, that we would ask for the disclosure of the BIPOC community, obviously to be eligible, as well as you don't need to have a certain SME that is already going in. Like if you have a startup idea or something that you can pitch really, really well, I foresee that would be an awesome option for funding as well. We don't see a problem with or why the funding wouldn't be loaned out to them either. I think that also what we had in mind was having increments of those loans. So like certain SMEs could apply for 2,500 as a loan or 5,000 as a loan, or going up to maybe 10 to 25K as well, depending on the establishment of the business. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
And I see that Sagar is raising his hand. So Sagar, you can go ahead with your question, please.
Awesome, thank you. And thank you, Nabiha and Tasneem, for the presentation. I was hoping to learn more about what you learned from your research, given the announcement last year for the Black Entrepreneurship Program with the National Ecosystem Fund, the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund, as well as the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub. Did you find any gaps that maybe existed in those frameworks that you think BIPOC Capital will better address? Or how does this build on that previous announcement, and how is it stronger, for example?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for your question. I think with this research, some of the gaps that we found were that there's a lack of long-term solutions, such as, I'll just give the example of the BEP, the Black Entrepreneurship Program. It's a COVID relief fund. Obviously, it's a very good start, but it's not enough to continuously dismantle the systematic barriers. And when it came to our research, we did find, I will give the other example of digital literacy. I think that was like a big issue that we saw, that like, why is there no like a further advancement of these researches going on to continuously like tackle these issues? Clearly, if we don't have the enough data and such, we're not ever going to solve these problems. So I hope to see more advancements towards BIPOC initiatives go on. So.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Kate, who is the timekeeper, do we have time for a last question, or shall we continue with the other team?
1 minute and 40 seconds left for one last question.
Does anyone for the jury have a very quick question? Okay, then I think we can go back to the Neo College team. So this time the floor is really yours, Neo College. You had 5 minutes more to prepare yourself, so you can go ahead.
Thank you. Oops, sorry. Okay. So, hi, we are Marine and Katarina from Montreal, Canada, and we are part of the Neo College team. Today, we are presenting our policy recommendations for digitalization in high school education systems. My little sister dropped out of high school, not because she wasn't a good student, but because the school environment failed to help her thrive and feel connected. Rather, my sister is part of the 1 in 3 students that have a high level of psychological distress related to excessive workload and performance anxiety. Sorry. Guys, shh. My family's laughing. In addition, she's a part of the majority of students who are bored in school. More importantly, she's currently navigating her transition into adulthood, feeling unequipped and unclear about her future. This is a general issue. 1 in 2 students feel that high school did not prepare them for their professional or adult life. Developing life skills are essential to determine one's personal and economic success. However, recent studies show that there has been a significant decline in terms of social skills, including interpersonal skills, problem-solving skills, and overall personal effectiveness. For many students, school can be a toxic environment, but this can change. We believe that we can transform high school education into an inclusive, enjoyable, engaging learning environment through the utilization of digital tools and technologies. We want high school to thrive in a meaningful and engaging way and to set a solid foundation for their future. Students are already connected. 75% of students say they improved their ability to learn, while 74% say educational technology is a student motivator. To reach our goal, we recommend to democratize and invest in the implementation of interactive digital platforms that develop essential life skills relevant to teenagers' progress through practical and engaging content.
Can I just interrupt you for a bit, because we cannot see your screen anymore? So do you mind maybe resharing it from the beginning?
All of the slides were not shared?
No, I was seeing it before, but now it's black. So maybe you can try again. Yeah, back at it. All good.
Okay. Maybe you want to start again, because I don't think we saw any of the slides, at least not on the live.
Yeah, you can reshare the slides from the beginning.
Thank you.
Oh, you did not see any of these slides?
It was gone.
Okay, so we'll start again. Sorry about that.
No worries. Go ahead. Now it's all working. Go ahead, Mari.
Now it's working. Okay. So, Hi everyone, part 2. My name is Marine and Katarina is my partner. We are from Montreal, Canada, and we are part of the Neo College team. So today we are presenting our policy recommendations for digitalization in high school education systems. My little sister dropped out of high school, not because she wasn't a good student, but rather because the school environment failed to help her thrive and feel connected. Rather, my sister is part of the 1 in 3 high school students who have had a high level of psychological distress related to excessive workload and performance anxiety. In addition, she's part of a majority of students who are bored in school. More importantly, she is currently navigating her transition into adulthood, feeling unequipped and unclear about her future. This is a general issue. 1 in 2 students feel that high school did not prepare them for their professional or adult life. Developing life skills are essential to determine one's personal and economic success, but recent studies show that there has been a significant decline in terms of social skills, including interpersonal skills, problem-solving skills, and overall personal effectiveness. For many students, school can be a toxic environment, but this can change. We believe we can transform high school education into an inclusive, enjoyable, and engaging learning environment through the utilization of digital tools and technologies. We want high school students to thrive in a meaningful and engaging way and to be able to set a solid foundation for their future. Students are already connected. 75% say that it improved their ability to learn, while 74% of teachers say that educational technology is a student motivator. COVID-19 created an opportunity to rethink our education system and to build back better and stronger teaching and learning environment. I'll pass it on to my colleague, Katarina.
Hi. So one part of our recommendation relates to the development of essential life skills. They are frequently overlooked, yet they set the framework to become resilient, inclusive, and to broaden the perspective of every student. They also prepare them for the future, and topics such as financial literacy, physical and mental health, diversity and representation, and many others should be included. The second part of our recommendation is to harness the power of technology to offer a variety of learning, to improve academic perseverance, and to reduce school workload for students and teachers who are too often overwhelmed. By using adequate platforms aligned with our learning objectives, academics can engage and motivate young people, which will increase student retention. It is especially necessary to support the use of these platforms within marginalized countries, such as high school with in low-income neighborhoods or in rural communities, and also in youth programs where many young people are at risk of dropping out. Stakeholders should also encourage all digital tools and learning platforms to apply web accessibility standards. This includes creating designs and structure to cater different student capabilities. For example, asynchronism can allow hospitalized students to stay up to date with their education from a distance. There are already many turnkey educational platforms that have proven to be successful. They should be implemented in our high school to enhance students' learning experience. This is done with the collaboration of stakeholders such as already existing digital expert, the Ministry of Education, who will encourage this policy and who will financially support public schools and youth programs. And last but not least, youth. They need to be involved to ensure that platforms remain relevant. In a post-COVID world, the internet is not a luxury. It is a necessity. If school was more relevant and engaging, Marine's sister might have completed high school. Let's work together to meet the needs of youth and our common future. Thank you for listening, and we're open for your questions.
Thank you for this presentation. And now it's the Q&A time. So does anyone from the jury have any question?
I have a question. I thought that was a great presentation. Thank you so much. But I know that also in this COVID era, many people are getting Zoom fatigued. So I wonder how your project reconciles the fact that many are actually getting tired being connected online so much.
Yeah. I'll answer this one. Well, first of all, students are very often are on their phones, on the computers. So it's not necessarily the fatigue for computers, and there is a link to that and mental health, and just because they're lacking physical movement. But the Zoom fatigue is mostly related to the way that that education has been brought to Zoom or to digital learning, because they just took the way we were taught in class and brought it to Zoom, which is very passive. But the way with those platforms, which are very engaging, which are they give immediate feedback, and they're visually interesting and stimulating, that's a huge change. So that would be very beneficial. Even without COVID, those should have been added to the educational platforms, because we have the tools and many already exist. So we should use them.
I see that Alessandro is raising his hand. Alessandro, if you want to go ahead with your question.
Yes, thank you very much, Marine and Katarina. I think your presentation was very much on point, and you have identified a really meaningful challenge to address. I have a question. I understand your point. I have a question on whether you have considered also the fact that there is going to be needed some new training for the educators, because the students are on one side, and of course they are important, but then of course the educators are those that are shaping their minds. So have you thought of how complicated it could be to train the educators?
Well, yes, for example, with those digital platforms, we never want to replace teachers, because they're very useful, they're very relevant, and they're important. The goal with those platforms is to, well, the way schools work right now is they usually teach to the average students. So everyone who's falling behind, who needs more time, is not having it. And some students are also faster or are more advanced, and they're also lacking. So with the digital platforms, everyone can progress at their own levels, but teachers are still very much relevant, but they could act a little bit more as mentors, or with a personalized approach for every student. And they, of course, there needs a time of adaptation, but they're doing it right now with COVID. So once that evolves and sets a little bit, we can platforms also have a good system by themselves, and many also have a teacher's profile, so they can track students to help them see how their students are doing.
And I see that Roberto is also raising his hand. So Roberto, please go ahead with your question. I think we still have a bit of time.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you, Katerina, Marine, for your presentation. I have one question. In terms of how this platform would be used, do you, I mean, in your initial stage, would you envision this to be something voluntary that people find about, like some high school students, and they sort of start using it, or you envision this to be some sort of part of the curriculum of schools, yeah, or perhaps a hybrid?
Yes, well, we're in Quebec, so we know more about the Quebec's education system, and we know that it's currently looking to change some of its classes. We have ethical and religious classes in our curriculum, and they want to reduce the religious part to have more life skills and healthy habits, entrepreneurship, and those kind of classes, which definitely align with what we're doing. So there's definitely an opportunity for that. And also the way we wanted to approach it is not only with schools, but also with external programs where youths attend. They usually have some school perseverance tutoring in the morning and some life skills workshops, which is more around the discussion, but they can use those platforms to make it more engaging and to give more resources to students as well.
Thank you for this interesting presentation. And Roberto, we stay with you because you will be the one calling the third team for their presentation.
Thank you very much, Julia. And it's my honor to present Melina, Stelios, and Sarah to present Greenorama. And correct me if I mispronounced it, please.
Totally correct. Thank you.
So, hello everyone. We are the Grinorama team. My name is Melina, and today, together with my team members, with Sarah and Stelios, we will present to you our policy recommendation about marine life, shipping, and open data. So, the marine environment is important for the European Union, as it has a coastline 3 times larger than the USA, and assets near the sea amount to 1,000 billion euros. Combined with the fact that about half of the population lives less than 50 kilometers from the sea. However, due to environmental pollution, problems such as ocean acidification, sea temperature rise, littering, bottom crawling, and seabed mining have occurred. Now, regarding the shipping industry, it is the engine of the global economy, since over 80% of world trade and about 90% of Europe's external trade is transported by cargo ships. Also, in 2019, Greece holds the first place, Germany the 7th, and Denmark the 10th in the list of the largest fleets. But there is also an environmental footprint, since if shipping was a country, it would be ranked 6th among the countries that pollute the most. And shipping emits 940 million tons of CO2 annually.
Open data has social and technological impact. It makes stronger citizen participation, empowerment, and it sparks innovation. On the other hand, there is financial importance. Open data direct value to the EU economy, and in 2018 there was a value of 52 billion euros, and in 2030 is expected to reach a target of 194 billion euros. Concerning all the data that is available about marine and maritime areas, there are many policies and initiatives as well as portals which have created fragmentation of the information. Because of that, citizens, businesses, and other stakeholders face obstacles when it comes to tracing marine and maritime information. Financially weak and sensitive groups that depend on marine and maritime activities may feel powerless to act, especially if the information is difficult to reach. Therefore, everyone needs to be in position to easily access the information in order to innovate and create societal as well as business value. Considering all the above, our policy recommendation is the creation of a single source of open data related to marine and maritime life that provides easy access and meaningful insight to citizens, businesses, policymakers, and other stakeholders alike by adapting to their needs and interests.
At this point, you may be wondering, how can we bring this idea into reality? The first step is to submit the policy recommendation in the open consultation of the European Commission titled Ocean Observation Sharing Responsibility, which has a deadline on the 19th of February. The next step is to earn the support of stakeholders such as EU and national parliamentarians, global players like the International Maritime Organizations, citizens, and marginalized groups in particular. The third step would be to secure funding through programs such as Horizon 2021-2027, the EU Green Deal, and the EU Recovery Fund. With this step, the first year of the plan will conclude. In the second year, we will work with the aforementioned stakeholders to co-create our solution, to design it together. In the last step, which is positioned in the fourth year of implementation, we will deliver the policy recommendation in the form of a platform. Now, our policy recommendation has digital inclusion in its core, since it will be delivered for all types of devices, such as smartphones and laptops. Secondly, the platform will be offered for free for all citizens. And lastly, it will have a simplistic design that will incorporate input from non-tech savvy individuals, as well as people with disabilities. So now, you may also wonder why you should support our idea. First of all, it promotes transparency. Secondly, it boosts the economic activity. It also sparks innovation and protects the environment and human life in ways that can be demonstrated in the SDG icons at the bottom of the screen. These are the sources for our project. And on behalf of Grinorama team, I would like to thank you very much for your time and for attending today the final.
Thank you, Greenorama, and it's Q&A time again. So does anyone from the jury has any question for the Greenorama team and their project on maritime life? You can raise your hand in the chat or directly ask your question and unmute yourself. Yes, Sagar, go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you, Greenorama, for the presentation. And so, having recently actually signed up to be a volunteer contributor to also an open source database, which it sounds like your idea is also pursuing, I recently learned just how many people it takes to manage and keep these up to date. So I was hoping to learn more about what are your plans for, who do you visualize would be your ideal contributor, or who do you hope to recruit to help sustain a database like the one you proposed?
So we visualize our idea, first of all, to be brought to the public as a policy recommendation, which in the first place will be responsible for creating some frameworks and some common rules that will be incorporated in this single source of data that we're referring. Based on these rules, then we will need to step up and go to the technical implementation. However, as I said before, the policy recommendation is now directed to politicians and also to policymakers to understand the value that EU and also other countries could have from such an initiative.
We have time for another question. You can raise your hand. Yeah, Alessandro, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Greenorama. I think the idea is very interesting. I'm wondering if you have found similar initiatives, maybe from the European Union or from Canada, and if so, what would be different about your platform that is not included in what is already existing? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alessandro, for the question. So yes, indeed, we found some very good initiatives, such as the European Open Data Portal, which of course incorporates open data for every aspect of life. And we also find an initiative called EMONDnet, which could also be a key partner in order to bring this into the reality. What we have found out in our research is that EU has funded several smaller projects. EMONDnet has already tried to some point to bring this into life, to bring everything together. However, we identified that we cannot actually achieve the target goal if we do not have such an understanding in a policy level. So EMONDnet's initiatives are great. However, it needs some further support in order to become a reality.
Thank you, Greenorama, and thank you to the jurors for their questions. Do we have anyone else? Okay, then I will ask our juror, Stephanie Day, to call on the next team, please.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to invite Sophia from the MelWebC team to present now.
Okay, hello. Okay, so good evening. We at MelWebC developed a policy on gender equality. With our policy, we recommend a strategy to bind the workplaces to offer smart remote working alternatives whenever it's possible. We decided on this policy because, as you can see in the graph, 81% of women are daily carers compared to 48% of men. This burden reflects on the fact that often women have to choose lower qualification occupations, and if you consider the ICT specialist, only 18% in the EU are women. This itself reflects in the pay gap, with women earning 16% less than men. When we developed our policy on teleworking, we found strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities. The strength is that, as the pandemic showed us, a lot of jobs can be done effectively in remote. And flexible working and teleworking allows mothers to maintain intensive jobs. Moreover, digital fluidity empowers women and makes them more confident. At the same time, it might result in a standardization of inequalities and gender roles, in a widening of the digital divide, and also it might not help that many women, as many female-dominated sectors have less of a chance to be flexible in their schedules. Also, companies might not decide to adapt, and work presence might become a social symbol, especially for men. And it might also happen that the work life invades the private life, creating an unbalanced relationship. But the opportunities are plenty, with female new talents being discovered and benefiting the economy, the appreciation of care work and its equal distribution within the household. Gender mainstreaming will result in common objectives between men and women, and it will also benefit other minority groups, such as disabled people and indigenous people. Regarding the funding, we will use the MFF, the European budget for 2021, which already has a gender mainstreaming perspective and a focus on the digital transition. As per the Next Generation EU, it's lacking a gender perspective, so we urge for it in order to include women in post-COVID Europe. Here you can see our stakeholders, and we will also ask the help of the European Women's Lobby and the European Trade Union Confederation in order to ensure a fair outcome of our policy. For our policy to be successful, we set up a series of conditions that need to be achieved: gender mainstreaming and education, investment in the digital transition and digitalization of the EU through digital inclusion programs, investment in childcare and care services, protection of workers' rights, and an overall culture of fairness and collaboration. This is the timeline of our policy. We will start as soon as possible with gender mainstreaming and education, digitalization, and investment in care services. In post-COVID Europe, we will then continue with the preliminary research to get an idea of the situation, and then contact the stakeholders to ensure a fair outcome of the policy. Once the policy has been launched, we will create a monitoring body, and then we will ask yearly reports and disseminate them in order to refine the policy as needed. Hopefully, our policy will contribute to the reach of gender equality. In conclusion, our policy is easy and impactful. It will bring digitalization and make work accessible to everyone. It will break gender stereotypes, especially allowing women to participate in STEM and IT jobs. And it's also innovative and smart, and will help balance career and family life. Our policy is just one part of a broader and deeper revolution that is needed in our society, which will put women at the center of the play. Thank you, and I will wait for your questions.
Thank you for this presentation, and dear Jerry, the floor is yours for questions.
I've got a question. I really appreciate your presentation, so thank you so much for sharing that. And although women have a large share of the responsibility of taking care of the children and the housework, what we found is that excuse me, apologies, I've got a cold. Part of what goes alongside that is making sure that we engage men in the care work. And I wonder how your policy also hopes to engage men in this.
Yes, obviously, we consider it as an issue. It will come with the gender mainstreaming and education. With our policy, we will strongly encourage government campaigns and sensitization of the work of women, and but at the same time we have been noticing, especially in COVID times, that the more men are involved in the household activities, the more they tend to participate in it. So once we sensibilize them to the issue, we think the situation will develop by itself and better by itself.
Thank you. And I see that Roberto is raising his hand.
Well, thank you very much for your presentations. I think, there is no doubt that, and this has been said so many times, that what the pandemic has done is just laid out existing inequities, but then it also has provided an opportunity for us to be more aware of those opportunities. In this case, as both of you mentioned, so some of the people that need to acquire some sensibility to this area. My question is in terms of the actual policy recommendation. Would this be something that perhaps you would like to enter through, like, for example, labor laws, or would it be more sort of a best practice recommendation? What would be sort of like the specific policy recommendation you would like to tackle in which area within the work sphere?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we were thinking of making it a European Union directive. So it would be a suggestion rather than being binding in itself. But obviously it will tackle labor law as well.
Thank you. Do we have a last question? Alessandro, go ahead, please.
Yes, maybe partially a question, partially a point of reflection. I think the idea is very intelligent, and thank you for actually proposing it. It is a means to an end, which is the end is gender equality. The reflection would be whether you have considered also the implications that smart working, especially in the times of pandemic, had on mental health. Especially on women, which have been affected more because they are requested to do more in the household, thing that should change fast. So whether you consider also in your policy recommendation to make sure that we have something like the right to disconnect after working hours, or the distinction between working hours and non-working hours. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. When we mentioned workers' rights and also the help of the European Trade Unions Confederation, we will ask their help in order to develop a fair outcome. And we want to stress how important it is that the fact that working is online does not translate in working being all the time. So since one is available online, it will be available all the time. And also our policy it will be voluntary. So if a woman wants to do teleworking, it's a chance, especially in time of high demand, but it's not mandatory.
Thank you. I don't see any hands raising from the jury. So if we don't have any further question, let me say thank you, Sophia, and thank you to the Mel Whipsy team. And I will ask our last juror, Sagar, to call the last team to present.
Awesome, thank you. And so our final presentation today is coming from Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is presented by Agatha and Mallow. So I'd like to please introduce them to share their presentation.
Thank you. So, okay, so is everything okay? Okay.
All good and clear. You can go ahead.
Okay, so hello everyone. Let's say we are the last but not least. Malo and I are going to present you our work on medical desert. So first, before to go any further, we'd like to introduce you our team and then why we chose to work on this subject. Then of course we will talk about the recommendation. So we are two French medical students coming from the French West Coast, and the two of us have been concerned for several years by the future of our planet and our society, especially in the medical field. We took this opportunity to think about how to improve the current healthcare system.
Hello, I'm Malo. So medical desert is a real issue in many countries of the European Union and around the world. In France, around 6% of the population live in a medical desert, especially in overseas department. But what is a medical desert? Is a term used to describe regions where population has inadequate access to healthcare. We can't have one of the most accessible health system of the world and not include everyone. So we ask ourselves the following questions. Do we need local medicine care for every medical treatment, or is telemedicine the holy grail of medical desert? So it raises the question, to what extent can technology in the healthcare system be an answer to the exclusion of rural areas? Chronic diseases are a growing problem in our aging societies. What's more, not to be registered by a general practitioner is a real issue for quality of life. Therapeutic education, Therapeutic education, the aim is to make the people able to take care of their own health, particularly thanks to videos. And the more you understand your disease, the better you are in health, and the less you need to see the doctor. In order to include minorities, we also need a telephone directory in multiple languages and in Braille. Facilitate access to medical care to everyone. And then telemedicine. It's a digital medical office will be included in the public. Easy instructions should be found to take over the technology, and moreover, a register of volunteers ready to provide basic computer skills should be given to the people in need, especially elderly people. So, technology can allow patients to be educated, to develop telemedicine, and to reduce inequalities of medical access.
Speaking of emergency care, you can imagine you search the situation you're faced with on an app, for example, hemorrhage, and then advices and videos of simple acts or gesture will help you. And a map linked to a site can show you where to find the nearest resource point. It could also call any volunteer, train and register on the app to come to help you. So, you know, in an emergency, the first few minutes are often decisive. Warn and rescue is a matter of life. So now we could see what could be life in a no longer medical desert. So let's see with Ari. Ari is a good guy, but Ari also has high cholesterol. His doctor gave him a medical pack on cholesterol. Ari can inform himself on the usefulness of his treatment and check and understand his blood results. He only needs to see his doctor in the digital medical office of his little town once every 2 years. But one day, Ari makes a note that his wife called the emergency services. Thanks to the advice described on the app, she starts a cardiac message. A neighbor is a former caregiver. She has registered herself on the app and she receives a notification and the localization of the nearest defibrillator. She drives to it and then to Ari's house. Grateful, Ari decides to form himself on first aid, to register on the app as a volunteer. Nor, Ari can form others in the neighborhood about first aid, so Ari is definitely a good guy.
So as a conclusion, our recommendation, human and material solution are conceivable to resolve medical desert issue. We suggest playing on therapeutic education, investing in patient education and local population education to constitute a solution, as well as encouraging mutual assistance, either it's in first aid or in using technology. We are calling for people to be solidary. We put forward using phone apps to learn how to act in a medical emergency, delivering advices and indicating human and material resources. So technologies are the heart of a new and more integrative healthcare system. There is a need not to be at the cutting edge of technology, but to be the most user-friendly technology possible. As you can see, some questions remains, but thank you for listening.
Thank you for your presentation. Time for the Q&A now. So up to the jury. If you have any questions, please go ahead or raise your hand. Yep, Sagar.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. and Ms. Smith and the team for the presentation. So as you'd mentioned earlier in the presentation, medical deserts, and I think you said around 6% of the population in France were living in those kind of areas. As you're researching your policy proposal and idea, did you happen to come across any information on what percentage of those living in France have access to internet or mobile networks regularly? Did you happen to have any information on that by chance?
In fact, access to internet is also an issue, but I think there is a big difference between the access of a good healthcare and a general practitioner, for example, and the access to internet. Even it's a real problem too. It's a smaller problem, I think. Even it's a real.
And our idea is not to allow telemedicine by private computer, but with the public one. So the idea is not to get an internet access in every home, but to get an internet access in every town, and to make people share this space.
Thank you. Do we have a second question for Mr. and Mrs. Smith? Yes, Roberto, please go ahead.
Well, merci beaucoup, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. First, I have to say that I'm a huge fan of Minerva, helping the neighbor. I couldn't help looking at it. On the question of Minerva, do you said that this is sort of like a health literacy platform as much as it is an emergency platform. I'm just sort of trying to understand, does this mean that it will have some sort of panic button, and when you feel like you're either yourself or someone in your home all of a sudden needs some sort of help, would everybody, in your initial idea, would everybody need to be able to have this app in order for this sort of panic button to alert your neighbor, or would you be thinking of having this interfaced directly with other services? I know that I saw in your platform that it said that it will alert the closest medical services, but in terms of like other platforms, maybe an alert on Facebook in a local group, things like that are more like sort of like inter-platform, interrelated.
it's very. We didn't think about this because we were thinking about something on our phone, and but I think it could work on a social network too. And but the point is that you can receive it and take it personally and feel responsible to provide and to act some help.
And
both can be possible, maybe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do we have a last question? I think we are still on the 5-minute timing, so we can squeeze in a last question if you have one. Alessandro?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. You hit a sweet spot in the sense that rural areas and areas which have little access is something that it's really close to my heart. So I have a question. On average, I was reading some statistics in Europe, in rural areas or in remote areas, older population lives. So how do you think this would affect, especially being it an application and thinking of, the older generations that maybe is not at so much ease with digital? How would you, let's say, balance that out? Because this is a nice idea, but then in practice, I'm wondering how many people, elderly people especially, that would need a panic button, as Roberto was mentioning, would be capable of using it.
Yeah, and thank you for your question. That's why we encourage mutual assistance, by putting your phone number on the digital medicine and the digital medicine cabinet. And you can put your phone number and then tell the other people who will come that you can help them with the technology. So it's like mutual assistance. Like some people can help with first aid, and other people in the same tone can help with dealing with the technology issues.
We need the person who knows how to act in this type of situation, and we also need, like as we said a little bit, a formation in mutual assistance, but also in using technology, and especially for elderly people. So it's on both sides.
Thank you. And time's up. Unfortunately, I think we could have stay many hours hearing all of your presentations. That's really fantastic to hear so many good ideas and so many insights on very important and timely topic like you all did. So well done, everyone. And we talked a lot about technology. So now, thanks to the digital tool that we are using, our jury will go to a virtual separate room to discuss and decide on the winners. So I think they will start moving slowly to their room. But in the meantime, we have something for you. We have not one but 3 speakers coming to share some thoughts and address some ideas. They are from Europe and they are from Canada. So stay with us and keep commenting, keep sharing where you come from and where you're connecting from in the comments and on social media. That's really great to see. And I would like to start with our first speaker, who is Christian Bergsmüller from the European Union delegation to Canada. So the floor is yours, and we're listening to you.
Okay. Hello, can you all hear me and see me?
Perfectly well.
Okay. Thank you very much, Julia. I hope that after all the hard work of the teams now, that you are not falling into your lunchtime slumber, but still have a little bit of attention for me and my wise words for the next 10 minutes. First of all, I would like to thank all those organizers for this second Thinkathon online challenge. I would like, there is the Goethe-Institut, Carrefour Jeunesse, and Think Young. I have a very personal connection to the Goethe-Institut, I have to say. On my very first diplomatic posting more than 20 years ago in Buenos Aires, I met my wife at the Goethe-Institut, Buenos Aires, so there's always a very special place in my heart for the Goethe-Institut. I would like, well, to thank you all for being part of this. I mean, it's another great example how in this COVID pandemic, trying to find new ways to connect, to do this whole Thinkathon online challenge online, to really connect two continents online, to have that all working so smoothly. I mean, for us, here at the EU delegation in Ottawa, we have two big issues where we try to foster cooperation between the EU and Canada, and that's climate change, the green recovery on the one side, and the digital transformation on the other side. And both are topics that are topics for young people. I mean, the whole climate change, green recovery is about your future, even more than about my future. But I can tell you, I have children a bit younger than you are there, but it is the #1 challenge to make sure that we can still inhabit our planet 1, 2, 3 generations from now. And the second issue is a digital transformation. And there you might say, what does that old man try to tell us about the digital transformation? And I have to admit, I often can't even keep up with my own children when it comes to the digital. And they now, in the whole homeschooling business, they always tell me, Daddy, get out of my online classes, you just disturb. But the thing is that the digital transformation comes with great chances, and I think the European Union wants to be there and help to make, especially when it comes to the rollout of broadband and making sure that connections are better, not only in the cities but also in the rural areas. I was just intrigued by the last presentation on health in rural areas. I mean, we have issues, especially when it comes to digital and being connected in rural areas. So this is certainly something where we need sound policies on. But another issue that you mentioned, teleworking. So the whole area of teleworking. I mean, I have been on and off teleworking now basically for a year. I mean, it has made us very creative for many things. It has enabled many things that before, for example, just to give you an example of my work life, when you are posted abroad, overseas, far away from Brussels, there's always that question, how do you keep in touch with the colleagues in Brussels? How do you know what's going on at headquarters? Okay, you get readout from meetings, but it's not the same. Now in the new world where every meeting happens on Zoom or WebEx, well, you can be there in all the meetings. Sometimes you have to get up early in Ottawa. Sometimes I have to do meetings at 6 o'clock when I have a noon meeting in Brussels. But it works. And for working over long distances, it has been quite some improvement. I think for you, even more important is this whole business of juggling your professional and your private life. I mean, the whole area of teleworking, how to integrate that with having a family is quite a fascinating area for the future. And I think another fascinating area from the digital is this whole privacy business, and the European Union that prides itself of being really at the forefront when it comes to privacy. And we have the big standard law that is copied worldwide. The GDPR is a European law. The Canadians just enacted a privacy law that took a big leaf out of the EU law book. And that's also a sign of the EU being a political leader around the world by having the right policies and by having the right cloud as a market, because the EU market is big, the EU market is attractive, and many companies thinking about, okay, we have to comply with an onerous EU privacy legislation. Okay, but then let's do it for all our operations worldwide, because it doesn't make sense then for the Indian market, for example, to develop a second set of rules. And so by being out there, being a high standard setter, the EU actually also makes things better for other countries. So this is this whole theme, which I think might be interesting to study for you, of the EU as the regulatory superpower. I would like to conclude by saying it's great to see you also engaged there. Stay engaged, participate in these kinds of competitions. The EU and Canada, we have great advantages. We are both free, open, democratic societies. You have no censorship in your internet activities. You can go out there, you can participate in all these competitions you want. So make use of it, be there. And well, I always hope, I have had many of my former interns who I have come to meet again in important positions later on in life. So I always hope perhaps one or the other face I see on the screen today to see back in a couple of years as colleagues, either on the European or the Canadian side. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Christian, for your words and for being us with this inspiring speech on connectivity today. Now, I would like to pass the word to Senator Pierrette Ringuet.
Thank you, Julia. Well, good afternoon, and let me start by thanking the organizers for the opportunity to be part of this fantastic event. And I also extend a warm regards to my EU colleagues. Most of all, I want to thank all the participants from Canada and Europe. And even like this, an event like this is only as good as the people who participate. And I've listened carefully to all the participation, and they're all good ideas. Our digital future, CETICI. This is a great topic. It is probably the most far-reaching topic at the moment. The digitalization of our world reaches every one of us in almost every aspect of our lives. Just think of the ways the world has changed since your childhood or my childhood. I won't go that far. Be calm. In the last few decades, we have seen so many world-changing innovation, and the world will continue to change at a rapid pace. For instance, when I was first elected some 34 years ago to the New Brunswick legislature, before most of you were born, having a computer was still a novel thing. We used them mostly for word processing. Web content was very limited. A few years later, email and the internet started to play an increasing role in my job and my political life. It was originally heavy and relegated to desk. Now it's in all our pockets, combined with our phones and our camera. The amount of change in my lifetime has been astonishing, and the progress you will see will be even greater, which brings me to why this event is so important. It is the younger generation, your generation, that has grown up with this. You were born into it and live in it your whole lives. You will continue to drive the change, And it heartens me to see discussions such as this and see focus placed on how our digital future can be a healthy, diverse, and positive place. I also love to see the positivity here today. It has been a hard year, but we can and we should be positive about the future. The past year has shown us what we can do, how we can adapt, and the digital world has been central to that adaptation. This event itself is an example of the way we have quickly adapted, having started in person, then having to pivot when the pandemic started, using technology to adapt to rapidly changing dynamics. We are working in ways I never would have thought just a few years ago. The government has had to adapt as well. In the Senate, we are holding sittings in a hybrid model where some senators are in the chambers and some are joining via Zoom. Committees are also meeting via Zoom. It was not easy, but there was reluctance to change. People hold strongly to old ways. They say it's just the way things are done. The systems in place can be rigid and unyielding to change. The Senate, for example, is governed by rules and legislation that was written before the internet, computers, some of it from before phones even. So we had to change the rules. The point is, don't let people hold you back because they want to keep things in the old ways. Don't let the way things are done stand and stop you from exploring the way things could be done better. There will be a lot of pressure to revert to the old ways of doing things. Resist that. If the way we are doing them now is better, keep it that way. Like governments across the world, Canada has been working on moving forward in the digital world. The Canadian government has put a strong emphasis on open government, making government data, research, and analysis more widely available and accessible, and providing more opportunity for experts, citizens, and stakeholders to get involved in policy. Open Government Portal hosts more than 80,000 data sets and government records from over 70 departments and agencies. Canada is also an active member of the Open Government Partnership with over 75 nations, promoting transparency, openness from government to its citizen, and using new technology to boost citizen involvement. Another part of this commitment was to put in place a devoted minister, the Minister of Digital Government, currently held by the Honorable Joyce Murray. Her mandate is to help facilitate the transition to digital government, update digital infrastructure, and modernize the way government delivers service. We also have other initiatives, for instance, $1.75 billion for Universal Broadband Fund, which aims to increase broadband infrastructure in remote and rural communities to ensure all Canadians have fast and reliable access. Another initiative is the Digital Youth Advisory Committee to include the youth perspective in development and design of government products and services. I would encourage those of you who haven't already to take a look at these initiatives and perhaps get involved. Of course, the government should do more, and it can do better. You are the ones to help them. The topics of this Thinkathon are very important, and your government in Canada and Europe will need your brain power and support to develop policy, but also your passion, your determination, your empathy to keep them going down the right path. Your voices will keep the focus on these important issues to make sure that government policy target climate change, that they fight racism, that they strive for equality, that they ensure our health and access to education. In conclusion, I want to say this discussion today is a great thing. There are the types of discussion that should be leading our policy development into the future. The next step is to take these discussions to your governments in Canada and in Europe. Good policy discussion should become good policy. Make that happen by getting involved, by working with your government rep, by making your voices heard. You can write or call your government rep. You can participate in political organization. It's a great place to bring the attention to the issues that you're bringing forth. At the end of the day, stand up and stand out. You are the future. And from what I have seen here, it's a very promising one. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. I think we all feel really inspired by your words, and it gives us a little hope, let's say, in this troubled time. So thank you. And now we will move to Europe, actually, because we are welcoming our third and last speaker, Rasmus Andresen, who is a member of the European Parliament and also a member of the Delegation for Relations with Canada. Welcome.
Yes, thank you, and thanks for the invitation. And sorry that I'm a little bit late, still on time, but a little bit late. I would have preferred to hear my Canadian colleague, for example, and also to get some more information or a little bit of your exchange of views earlier in your event. But sometimes, yeah, there are many meetings at the same time, and then this wasn't possible, but still we can also continue the discussion also after today. I agree with my colleague there saying that you always are invited to contact members of the European Parliament working on digital issues or from the EU-Canada delegation, and I'm at least really interested in doing so. So yeah, you already mentioned that I'm a member of the European Parliament since 2019, member of the Greens, as you maybe can see on my backdrop, and member of the EU-Canada delegation, and member of 2 committees dealing a lot with digital issues. First of all, the IMCO committee, the Internal Market Committee, which is basically responsible for everything related to the internal market. And as you may know, this is a very important topic for the European Union. And on the other side, I'm a member of the Industry and Technology Committee, which of course is also dealing a lot with digital issues. And this year in the European Union, it's a very interesting year also from a digital perspective, because the Commission actually proposed or will propose in numbers 18 different proposals on digital topics. So there is really a lot to deal with, from 5G and 6G, geo-blocking, net neutrality, cybersecurity. A lot of issues will be dealt with in the European Parliament, and to become digitally sovereign is one of the key goals of the European Union and the European Commission, the new European Commission, since the last European elections back in 2019. And I can't tell you everything about these 18 proposals, because then we will need some hours for it, but I would like to concentrate on the most important topic. And this is the Digital Services and Digital Markets Act. It's two different laws or proposals for laws, European laws, dealing with big tech, as we say, gatekeepers, like Facebook, Amazon, Google, and so on. Defining, first of all, what gatekeepers are, defining what big platforms are also in relation to smaller platforms, so that we will have common but also different rules, maybe more stricter rules for digital gatekeepers than we're having for small or medium-sized businesses. And there is a lot to discuss and take into account. I mean, we will have the discussion about transparency on algorithms, for example. We need to have more transparency on the platform model and what the platforms actually are doing with our data. We are dealing with questions like personal advertising, which is one of the reasons for, that's at least what I'm believing and many of my colleagues are believing, is one of the reasons why we are experiencing right now the skill in society, or the polarization in society between different also political opinions. For example, you can see it in the US, but all places in Europe. It's because we have different realities when it comes to our online communication. And I don't have to explain that to you. You all are aware of that, but this is something which will be addressed in the proposals we have to negotiate now. And on the other side, also questions like the market power, to limit the market power, like for example, on merging some of the platforms, like we have experienced in the past with merging, for example, Facebook with Instagram or WhatsApp. This actually shouldn't take place any longer. This would mean that we would concentrate the market power too much on some of the platforms, and this is something we should ban in the future. At least this is the opinion from my political group and a lot of others in the European Parliament. The Commission is not so clear on some of the elements, but still this is a political fight, and you have invited me, so I will of course also come with my green perspective on it. Then there is one other issue I think is really important. It sounds a little bit technical, but it's important for limiting the market power and also to give consumers more rights, and this is the issue of interoperability. Interoperability, which means basically that if you are on WhatsApp, for example, but your friends are on Signal, for example, or Telegram, then you can send from WhatsApp your message to your friend to Signal or Telegram or other messenger services. This would basically mean that nobody needs to be on WhatsApp because everybody is on WhatsApp. And this is basically what the argument is, and for why there is a big power concentrated on messenger services like WhatsApp. It's because all of our friends are there, so we also want to be there because we want to text with them. And it's a bit the same with Facebook Messenger or Instagram and so on. So this is something where there are technical solutions, like we can send mails from Google Mail to, I don't know, a different other email address or provider, and this is something we also really need to have on messenger services. But this is of course also a big fight with the big tech companies, because you can all think of that this is really also a tough battle with a lot of lobbyism, because I mean, the platforms are not interested in limiting their market power, and this is basically what we want to do in economic terms, but also when it comes to democracy issues, and this is what the platforms are working against. And this is why we are also experiencing already a lot of lobbyism in Brussels and in the member states to limit the power of, or the regulation we want to have in place. So yeah, this is basically what I would like to contribute with. I think it's good also to discuss this in a transatlantic format. Besides of my work in the Canadian EU-Canada delegation, I'm also a member of the EU-US delegation. And my deepest feeling is that we need to tackle these issues in a transatlantic context, because we all know that's not just because the platforms are in the US, but also that both the Canadian market, the US market, and the European market, if we can find some solutions together, and we can then we will have a lot of power also taking back control. And if we are divided on these issues, then we are facing a problem, a serious problem, because then Facebook can try to get to play with us and to get most out of working with them, with the country maybe which give the best conditions to the big tech companies. So my hope is that we can do a lot there, and this is why I really appreciate this meeting here and the possibility to speak about that with you, and hopefully I will get also some input from you.
Thank you so much for sharing with us your thoughts and for being us also virtually today. It's a real pleasure to hear from Canada and from Europe. I think our jurors are back from the deliberation room. Yes, I can see all these happy faces. That's great. I guess that was a hard choice that you guys had to make, but glad to see that you're back and not still fighting in the other Zoom room. So I will call each of you, and you will announce the different teams and the different prize. And we are starting with Kate. Kate, please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. As Julia just mentioned, it was not an easy decision, although for me, my part, it was really easy because I was just announcing the audience prize, which is the votes that you have casted in, our partners organizations, our participants. I just want to mention very quickly that we have received over 1,000 votes. So I thank you very much for everyone who has taken the time to vote. I think it will be a very representative result today. So without any further ado, I would like to announce that the audience prize is going to be awarded to Greenorama. Congratulations.
Well done. And I think for each announcement, we go all unmute yourself and clap for the teams, because it's well deserved. And I know that people watching us also on Facebook will join in the congratulations. Now I would like to call Roberto, who will announce the third place.
Well, thank you, Julia. As Kate mentioned, this was a hard decision because there were all good ideas, but we've made our decision. And for the third place, there was a tie initially, and then we had to really discuss where this third place was going to go. And this is going to go to Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And Mr. and Mrs. Smith, it's a time that, we're going through a health crisis, and, never before has the urban and rural divide has been so apparent, and it is an issue that we have to come up with. So we wish you good luck and unleash Minerva.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, bravo. Then Sagar, I think you are announcing the second place.
Yeah, absolutely. So as mentioned, our finalists were all super close in our grading. So this did come down to our discussion. So second place goes to BIPOC Capital.
Thank you.
Yeah, so congratulations. And so for this, we want to recognize an initiative which does recognize the importance of supporting both the economic recovery, but also in ensuring that that recovery is rooted in addressing racial inequalities through supporting small and medium enterprises. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well done, team. And last but not least, Alessandro, you have the big responsibility to announce the winners. So go ahead.
Yes, really last but not least, because we are announcing the first prize and the biggest one. It's really an honor for me to be able to do so. And so drum roll, and the winner is Mel Whipsy. So congratulations, guys. You were really fantastic. So good job. It was a hard decision for all of us in the discussion. We thought that you really tackled one of the most important issues nowadays, which is gender equality and the importance of reaching such equality. And also we found out that your idea was quite innovative. We like the idea that you put digital into it. We like the idea that you put also an education component. We need to educate others. And then of course the smart working element, which hopefully will make us reach full gender equality. So really congratulations, continue work on that, and good luck with the advocacy towards the European and Canadian institutions.
Yes, thank you so much. We are so proud. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, everyone, and it's really great to see so many happy faces, even if it's on a screen. I think it's amazing to see that you all had different projects with exciting ideas, and you all did an amazing job. So I think we can congratulate all of you again. And all the other participants as well. We have around 600 participants in total. So thank you and good job, everyone. I think people also in the Facebook Live can comment and congratulate the winners and the participants, because you all are amazing. And unfortunately, all good things come to an end. So I would like to call Andrea Gerosa, who is the founder and the director of Thinkathon, to address some final remarks. Andrea, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you very much, everyone. And I hope you can hear me clearly. Well, I mean, it's been a 2.5 years journey for some faces that I see. And usually, you know, if we look back at what happened in this last 2.5 years, not only our life changed, but you know, the world has been changed. And one thing that it was constant was definitely the passion behind all this project that was put by everyone who was involved, from the partners, and I'm not gonna name everybody because for sure I'm gonna forget someone, but you know, we do know that you know, the Goethe-Institut, Carrefour Jeunesse, European Commission who helped us, the people at Thinkathon, Katia, Marilena, Julia, Kate, Annalena, who's not attending. There are plenty of people that, again, I mean, I start with some because I think I named some to name everyone. And I think for as much as it changed in the last 2.5 years, one thing was really constant. It was a passion, and it was a need to make sure that we put together a project that could give young people the visibility they deserve and make them protagonists in a world where sometimes young people are not protagonists. And we had to readapt completely our concept, because the idea was not to do it online, but doing it online allow us to reach out to even more young people in rural areas, people who probably would have never made it to the big cities where we were planning to organize our Thinkathon. So I think, you know, all in all, has been a great experience. I have a little news that I already shared with some people of the team, is that we will try to go on with the Thinkathon series in 2021 in a form or in another one. So we'll push beyond this. And my last word, my last thank, because I don't want to take too much time. I mean, again, the protagonists are all the faces that were live today, but let me thank all the young people who participated in this. When you spend hours on something just because you believe in it, it really makes a difference and it really makes an impact. And that was clear. And we are going to bring all your ideas, all your suggestions, all your information to policymakers at the end of February in a debate where policymakers from Europe and from Canada will be informed of all your point of views and all your ideas. So it doesn't end here. Today is a celebration, and today has to be fun. And if we were all together, we'll probably open a lot of bottles of beer and wine. Do it at home if you're allowed to. But it doesn't end here, because at the end of February, we will have this more official moment in which probably we will not have a chance to say hi to everybody and again thanking you, because the numbers have been really staggering. I mean, we're talking about over 400,000 views, 1,000 people who vote, 600 people who voted, 1,000 who participate. You know, it really numbers that we would have never expected 2 years ago. Our expectation were really way below this. So again, thank you so much, and especially to the people who work behind the scenes. So if you can join me in a big applause to everyone who work on this without having the visibility, because that's really important. And again, from us at Think Young, follow us. Marilyn has been a driving force of this for us, and you can contact her anytime for the Thinkathon 2021. And Julia, thank you as well, and back to you.
Thank you, Andrea. And thank you indeed to also all our jurors who did an amazing and hard job in choosing the winning teams. Also, thank you to our speakers, and thank you to the public watching it on Facebook Live, voting for the audience prize. It's really great to have also the public involved in this project. And congratulations and thank you again to the 600 participants in total who joined since October, and particularly to the 5 teams who are here with us today and agreed to share with us their great ideas. So stay tuned, make sure to follow the Goethe-Institut Montreal, Think Young, and Carrefour Jeunesse Emploi on social media. And we will make sure that all your policy recommendation and all the amazing ideas that you share with us will be shared with policymakers. So stay tuned for the next month. And again, I think we can all have a big round of applause because you did an amazing job. So well done, everybody. And have a nice evening and have a good day, Canada.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
I want to be the last one.